Hello, everybody. So we are back again today with Lois Koffi, who is someone I interviewed, honestly, just a few weeks ago, but so much has changed in that time. We initially had such a good time talking to Lois. I say the royal we. I had such a good time talking to Lois about sales and mindset and all of these different things that impact your success and your confidence that we actually asked her back to dig in more. Now, we were initially going to talk about and dig into stuff more around recruiting and training salespeople, because that's something we hear a lot about other people having challenges with. But so much has changed, Lois, that I do just want to hear a little bit about where you're at. Now, before we get into that, just for people who didn't tune in to the other podcast episode, and I strongly recommend you do if you haven't, Lois is a professional speaker, trainer, coach, and Ironman triathlete, which I totally I'm not surprised at with the amount of energy you put into everything. That has coached thousands of people in the business and and healthy lifestyles to create more in less time so they can experience the abundant playground this world provides. She actually lives by example and only works 9 months of the year and takes 3 months off practicing what she preaches, something I love. Welcome, Lois. I'm so glad you could join me again.
Hello, hello. It's so good to be back. I'm honored and privileged to be here. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. And actually, yes, that is one of the many changes since our last interview is that we actually have some video going on. We can see each other's faces while we talk. It's awesome. Well, kind of. I'm hidden behind this mic.
You still look great.
Thank you. And likewise. Anyway, so last time we spoke, so much has changed since then. The pandemic, COVID, you have experienced some changes in your personal life that are super huge, So just if you're willing to share with the audience, how has the past month or so and COVID-19 affected your life and your business?
Oh my gosh. It's transformed it. It's changed drastically, and it's transformed my mindset. And just, I say this with humility. I'm very excited about how it's changed my life, and I want to, encourage and inspire hope to other people who may be going through this and growing through this time. I think when we talked, our kids were still in school, and now they're homeschooled, which is kind of ironic because my husband and I were looking into that. We've actually registered them for a homeschool next fall. And so we're like, okay, universe, we get to see if this really works for us. So that's been amazing. And, it's just that pivot, now both my husband and I have always worked from home, or at least I've always worked from home for the last 10 years since the Great Recession. I got that gift to learn how to sell virtually and work from home, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But ultimately, having the kids, we have 2, 11 and 7, and having them here has, actually strengthened my marriage with my husband, ironically, because you would think it would do the opposite. We've had the, communication and tag team and say, okay, I'm recording this podcast right now, can you help me? Or my husband has a conference call, can you help me? And building that homeschooling structure and schedule was actually quite empowering for us. So that was huge. And thankfully we haven't lost our minds yet. For the other piece of it is just, I did, lose a family member since our last call. My mom got sick, went into hospice and died. So I've had to find ways to keep moving forward while also going through loss. And it's just really reminded me and connected me more with the world. There's people dying because of COVID-19. There's people going through grief and loss of their own, whether it's a job loss or it's decreased sales results, or they've never worked from home before because they're so used to that face-to-face, belly-to-belly coffee meetings or sales meetings in person, or your sales team meets in person. It really has helped me realize that I have so many skills and so much to give and to help people. So that's been very humbling. I've been filled with, my own pain and emotion, but also gratitude of how to do things different, how to pivot myself, and how to jump into action, learning from the recession, learning from a lot of grief and loss myself. And I've even started a podcast because I know a lot more people are home now. They're easier to reach. I've done way more webinars of my own. I've almost given 1 or 2 speeches a day, or been interviewed on a podcast. So that is a kind of a summary, if you will, of everything that's been going on for me.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I know at the time we had last spoken, you had also experienced a loss and were dealing with grief. So, I know we've spoken privately and stuff, but my heart truly goes out to you. It's a lot to deal with. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that it's a lot. And yeah, I think it's okay to hold space for that. At the same time, I have been really inspired by the kind of balance that you've been kind of keeping between holding space for your grief and, being like, yes, I'm going through this. These are some of the, at least so it appears to me, at arm's length, so to speak, right? Just as a connection. But also, using it as a tailwind rather than a headwind and being like, okay, here are some of the things I've gained from it. Here are some of the perspectives, like here's how I'm moving forward. I've just found that really inspiring. And I'm curious, what are some of the things mindset wise that you have been able to do, in response to grief, in response to the recession, in response to the pandemic that have helped you kind of grow from this experience and move forward and not just, curl up into the fetal position and give up, which I sometimes want to do.
Oh yeah, trust me, that's there. That's like the little devil on your shoulder. That's like, oh, come on, you deserve to just do nothing, right? And for me, I was modeled, being raised in the family that I was raised. You take hits and you keep on going. And I've also learned how dangerous that can be to your health and mental health and physical health. And so I've found a good balance for me where I really am in tune with my body. I'm really in tune with my mind, and I'm really in tune with my spirit. If I don't have that, get up in my, movement, if I know I got to slow down and stop and be still and go just take a deep breath of fresh air outside. Believe it or not, I have slowed down. I have done less and just really embraced teaching my kids and having fun with them. And not ironically, by chilling out and being with the grief and being with the thought, you know what, I probably need to reschedule that meeting right now because I'm not only am I not the highest and best version of myself, I deserve to just be and not take away from what I need right now and what that person deserves of me. So I've been okay with that. I've been at peace with that. And I think a lot of people can do that now more than ever. People are spending way more time with their family, way more time online. You don't want to get sucked into online either because that can create a lot of bad habits as well. So listening to my own message and just practicing what I preach has been very, very powerful for me, and not just wanting to do and throw myself into busy work. My body and my spirit actually aren't even allowing me to do that right now because if I'm done, I'm done.
Yeah, I can definitely feel and relate to that, the desire to kind of throw yourself into doing, but, needing to find that space in between and needing to be able to say no to some things, but also, not just give up. So thank you for sharing, around your experience. I know it's probably a super sensitive topic, but I really thank you for being vulnerable because I think that a lot of people right now are experiencing grief in various ways as things they had, not in the same type of grief of having lost someone very close to you. But for some people, they've lost major jobs or whole careers, or in a lot of cases, I know quite a few people who work in the restaurant industry. And there's that all of a sudden something's gone that you weren't expecting. And we do have to move forward. But I really appreciate what you're saying about finding a balance between doing and just being. Sometimes we just need to be, not just numb out by taking action, but actually just exist as a human being. And that can be really tough for us go-getters.
And if I can add one more thing to that, you make a good point. I was getting into more doing without even realizing it, even though I teach people time management, balance, and whatever that means for them, because balance is completely overrated in a lot of aspects. It's just finding your own sweet spot of not overdoing. But I've also been able to really connect more with my spiritual mentors. I've had a ton more self-care. I think I had like not one, but 6 self-care appointments last week, and Reiki and just some different emotion code stuff, and just drilling down deep. And I encourage people to consider that kind of stuff for themselves right here, right now, because those tools are priceless. And actually, a lot of those tools were a lot of things that I took away from the recession when I lost everything and had to start all over. It's coming back full circle. So I want to remind people to tune into those kind of healing modalities.
And thank you. I absolutely agree. I'm not ashamed to admit that in the last week, I've started reaching out for some mental health and self-care kind of modalities and resources available in my area, because there's a lot of ambient stress going on right now. There's a lot of stuff to navigate, and it doesn't stop coming. Maybe it comes in waves, but in my experience, there's no like, oh, great, the hard stuff is going to stop coming. I just need to like endure until then. It's like, wow, actually, it's never going to stop coming. I need to build this personal resilience so that I'm not crushed under whatever's coming next, Okay, well, just to kind of carry this forward, but also include a little bit more on a business context. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but what are some things that you're doing differently? And this can also touch on personal as well, to pivot and really, make sure that you're still being supported by your business and able to thrive, in this time.
100%. And I'm thank you. That's a phenomenal, because I'm very concerned that there are business owners who aren't doing some of the things I'm doing, and it could hurt their business more than help it. I actually cut my prices in 50% for my online coaching program. I cut them. I don't want pricing to be an issue for people right now. I want to help the masses, and that's a pretty big shift, but I did it instantaneously. I'm creating a ton more, probably 3 times more, the online content. I got back into my blog. I've got my podcast started. I'm doing weekly free webinars, which I wasn't doing that nearly that often. And just doing a lot with StreamYard. I don't know if you've heard of that. I'm using tools to stream things simultaneously to my Facebook fan page, to my YouTube channel, and to a couple other places, LinkedIn and things of that nature. Really, because I'm such a time management freak, finding ways to do more, but with less time, and also reaching more people. I've really locked into my CRM and email marketing and autoresponders. We have extra time on our hands right now. So I've just been working on my business more and leveraging the tools, tweaking my skill sets, and being able to, funnel 2 to 4 to 6, sometimes 10 leads a day through my social media marketing campaigns and my CRM tools and all that kind of stuff, just to, have a bigger net to cast. And then, my hope is, as people see the value and they feel supported and nurtured through my content, that they'll be participating in my online coaching programs, and I'm expanding them globally, much bigger, much faster. So it's kind of a lot, but it's been a huge month to I feel like I've been building to this moment for the last 6 months to quite possibly maybe even 12 years. So I'm kind of poised and ready. And with my mom's passing, I maybe missed a couple of projects, like completing my ebooks and things, but I think that's okay right now.
Yes, I think it is, in fact, not just okay, but critical to be easy on yourself right now. And I think, not just for people who are going through kind of some extra intensities, but for everyone right now, give yourself permission to just not be super hard on yourself if you're not fully as productive as you'd like to be.
Oh gosh, 100%, for sure, for sure. I'm actually grateful for the less is more approach now, because I feel more whole and healthy, really, and renewed. Which again seems kind of counterintuitive with everything that's happened. So I encourage everyone to really listen to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Although, of course, maybe a little bit biased. I think we almost always have stuff of great value here, but this is really, this is relevant and important right now. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. Now, I do want to kind of move us into some more specific sales topics. If you haven't gotten the memo from this, it is totally okay to be still reaching out and prospecting and selling right now. That being said, I'm hearing that you've made some shifts in terms of how you approach that. Again, I think we've already touched on this a little bit. You've touched on some of the things you've done. How would you suggest that listeners adjust their sales process during a crisis like this?
Oh yeah, and trust me, I've experienced the good and the bad and the ugly of people who aren't shifting and pivoting. Because I think now, because everybody's online and everybody has more time, I've been prospected more than I have been in months, probably even years, where people are just hitting me over the head, going straight for the jugular and trying to close me without so much as a hi, how are you doing? I even had one person, bless his heart, but he didn't know about the death in my family, and he was just wanting to prospect me. And I just had to say, this is not the right time and the place. And he took offense at it. And I don't even think he read the fact that my mom died. So it's one of those things where I really, really want people to lean in and listen first. You've probably heard this many times over. Listen has the same letters as silent. They're just rearranged. And just being with people and checking in first. How are you? How is your family? I forgive me because I talked to so many people. I don't know if did we touch on the form technique on the last call? Does that ring a bell?
The form technique as the name of a framework does not ring a bell.
Okay, good. Okay. And even if I did, you got to hear things 7 times before they really stick. So at the end of the day, I love the form technique. It's something I've used in sales since day one. I was fortunate to hire a coach and have a mentor who both reiterated that this is how you work with people, and you do it all the way through the sales process. And it's form. First you just check in, you connect at the heart level with people before just hitting them over the head with a hammer. And the script, if you will, the acronym is essentially a connection script. You're connecting, you're listening, you're asking questions, and you're zipping the mouth. And this is still applicable, whether it's text, whether it's instant messenger on Facebook, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter the platform. So I just want to say that, because I know I'm a huge phone call person. I was born with a phone attached to my head, and I could smile and dial with the best of them for hours every day. Not right now, but when I'm not grieving and all that, I usually dial 20 to 30 dials a day, but that's not everybody's cup of tea. So whatever works for you, just remember F stands for family. How is your family doing right now with everything? And just be quiet, be silent, and listen. I'm oftentimes taking notes on my end. Even if it's in person, which right now we're not doing, even it's on Zoom, I always ask permission to say, hey, what you say to me matters, and I really want to connect with everything you say. Now, is it okay if I take notes? I still, especially now, ask for permission, because you never know what people are gonna talk about. I had an amazing conversation with a gentleman. Obviously not going to say who his name or anything like that, but we just met on an online meeting, and I said, hey, do you want to connect and have a Zoom connection? And we were going to talk business, right? But I did the form technique, And we connected so much so that before you know it, we were talking about depression, anxiety. I was getting free coaching and tips on how to work that. And it was such a gift to be able to do that. And that's the magic. And again, I didn't do this to accept to receive anything, but he gave me a lead, me a referral. Know me, right, before that call. But because we connected like this, I used the farm technique, and I apologize, I'm jumping around. I'll finish it here. We had instant trust and rapport. And that's what you don't, it takes sometimes people years to earn trust, but you can lose it in like 5 seconds by being a jerk and not just being with that person, because you never know what they're going through. And right now it applies to everybody 110%. So anyway, F stands for family. How's your family? O stands for occupation. How is your work right now? For some people, they just lost their job. Their sales are down. They're not used to working from home. Listen to them. People want to get it out. They got to get it out, right? Otherwise they might turn to alcohol or sugar or emotional eating or whatever. It's a powerful thing to be able to connect and ask them how their work is. The R is recreation, which right now we're not all recreating that well. All right. Unless you can go for a walk, you can stop and smell the roses. You might still be able to go for a run, just kind of connecting with them and see what they do enjoy. If they love to travel, hey, if you could go somewhere, anywhere in the world, where would you go? And just kind of help them connect to the things that they love. That means a lot to people. And then the M stands for mission or message. What is their mission right now? What is the message that they're trying to get out? If they're a business owner, how can I help you expand and broaden your message? Like you and I connected really well, and I already referred you guys another person to interview for the podcast. It's just, how can I provide value for that person? And you can find a lot out through that acronym, through form, and just by listening and helping them share, anything is possible. I mean, I've had business partnerships happen like that just because we had a true, authentic, transparent conversation where it wasn't all about me. I made it about them first. And that's the money in sales. That's the magic. And that's the stuff that I get excited about, if you can't tell.
Yes, I can tell, and I definitely share that. It's so funny. I was actually just before this podcast working on a blog post that is all about basically how to lead an effective meeting, and that has always basically been my secret weapon. Is like I'm not familiar with the form method, but just active listening. Just be quiet when somebody shares something. Seek to understand before being understood. And I find that when people feel heard, not only is there a catharsis and magic, but I love that you mentioned that you're giving them a gift, because that's really how I see it, is that you're giving them the gift of being heard. And that is something that is very valuable and precious and beautiful and awesome. It has to be authentic. But it also leads to you being given that gift in return, because people are going through a lot. And a lot of the time, even when we're really excited and really engaged to be there, we almost get so excited about our own response that we don't always absorb, even though we think we might, what's going on for the other person, and I think that perhaps perpetuates it taking longer to build that trust and that understanding and that mutual compassion.
Well, you made me think of something. Can I share one thought that I didn't fully understand? I mean, I got it at the head level, but now I get it at the heart level, and I'm going to use it as part of my sales training. But this grieving process, I've learned a lot about people. And grief can be complex. Grief can be awkward. Grief can be, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say right now. So I'm just going to talk about myself and take over on this conversation. And I'm going to try to, sell to Lois right now. And I'm like, I've been blown away about how people have not been trained on how to just be with someone no matter what. And I'm just as guilty. I'm not perfect. Trust me, I have fallen short because I just get so excited about my product or my service. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait until you pause and I can tell you about it right now. But just to be with that person when I've talked to millionaires and people who are almost billionaires, right away they're like, how can I help you? And I'm like, dude, you don't even know me yet, but they're wanting to give because they know that giving is living, and being with people and making it about them first, especially during these grieving times. That's the heart to heart stuff is way better than any script I can give you. But that's what I've noticed is it's just people don't know how to be. And a lot of times it's probably because they haven't dealt with their own grief or past trauma or past pain, and they haven't been modeled that. And so if I can model anything to anybody,
I feel that. And I also agree that living by example, kind of what I'm hearing from you, is that it's tough, but by living by example and by showing this, you're also helping to spread the word, so to speak. You're helping to encourage and inspire other people to be able to be in a call, as you said, as well. So,
yes.
So powerful.
Thank you for allowing me to share, because that's something I don't want to ever forget, and that's what I want to kind of connect and remind people of, because this recession is going to last 2 to 3 years, whether people want it or not. There's so much unemployment and things of that nature. We got to be kind to each other, and even and express if someone's hurting and having pain, they should just go ahead and just maybe say it. So, or cancel the sales meeting, or do whatever they can do to just really honor their own space, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, agreed. So it bears repeating. Like, it's okay to be easy on yourself right now. It's okay to be easy on other people. You don't have to be hard on yourself. And I know that even before COVID was going on, I have canceled sales meetings before because of exactly what you described, that kind of moment of connection and something intense is going on. And they're like, oh, but I'm good. Let's do it. And I'm like, I mean, if you want, but we can also just talk, or I can just let you go do and be and experience that, because right now you need support as a human, not just as, a prospect or a connection or even, a partner or something like that. I think that it's what I'm hearing from you, and what I'm also agree with is that it's important to let ourselves be human right now and to let each other be human.
100%. Absolutely.
Okay. Are you feeling ready to shift into some a little bit more official stuff around hiring and recruiting and all that fun stuff?
Bring it.
All right. This, I just don't want to take away from the importance of this part of the conversation. I think it's really amazing that it all kind of mooshes together to some degree. Like, oh, surprise, being compassionate and dealing with people as a human and giving space during this time is actually also really good for your business. Oh, and not being a poo head when you're reaching out to people and kind of totally ignoring the situation as well. Just if you're one of those people, and I don't mean to call you a poo head, but maybe just, if you are prospecting right now, take a second look at how it is that you're reaching out and what ways you're including these elements of compassion and listening and just being quiet and holding space and all these fun things. Okay. But next question. So when you are screening somebody for a sales role, so, let's say you're looking for somebody to join your team, with the first hire for sales or bringing someone to join your sales team, what would you say one of the most important things to look for is?
There's some things like, first of all, it's Google really helps us, right? I want to have a LinkedIn page. I want to know if there is any history. It's always good to kind of pre-screen and get a sense for who they are online. And then if you have a LinkedIn page, just seeing their background and what they're passionate about is important to me. I still use the form technique. I still develop that trust and rapport usually. And I'm also a very quick decision maker. If you ask the right questions, you meet with them face-to-face or Zoom, because I have recruited globally. I even have a business partner I've never physically met. He's in India, I'm here. Business partners are a little bit more, high level. So we probably knew each other for 6 months and experienced each other's services before we decided to dive in. But for me, it's really just about their heart, their authenticity. And I'm pretty good, if I can say this, at detecting a bullshitter and someone who's not authentic. And just really from that form technique, it just says a lot. If they have a big vision, if they have a big why, and if they're able to even share that, says a lot that they're evolved and ready to take things to the next level. Or if they show up humble and say, you know what, I'm just really passionate. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I don't know what my future holds, but gosh darn it, I want you to help me. I'm coachable. I'm teachable. I'm trainable. Finding out what books they're reading, what is their network like, finding out their accomplishments. I have another acronym for going through that process, but ultimately those are the most important things and I've been fortunate usually because I also teach, fortunes and the follow-up and how to, follow up with people with excellence. I also make sure, do they call me back? Do they respond professionally? How is their communication skills and things of that nature? I'm really in tune with all that. And if they pass all of those things with flying colors, if I even haven't known them for 2 weeks, I'm ready to bring them on board. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it's a process too.
For sure. And one that may not take a lot of time, but I'm hearing is fairly intensive. Even just the things you mentioned offhand, doing your research online first, seeing what their network is, making sure that they do have that authenticity, that they're showing, not telling. Something I love. They're basically showing you their skills, not just telling you their skills by following up with you and showing that they're taking the actions that get success. These are kinds of the things that I'm hearing. You mentioned you had a process or a framework for that. Is that something that you can share quickly, or is that a whole other episode?
Well, that might have to be a whole nother episode, only because I want to honor your time. And, the key is to always leave them wanting more. For sure.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely get behind that and can also attest that it works. A lot of people leave me hungry for more stuff. That's definitely what pushes me to pursue it. And I definitely felt hungry for more after our last interview. So maybe we can come back to that another time. But something you mentioned, is that, pardon me?
Can I tell you a funny story that goes along with everything? I hope I don't throw you off.
Absolutely.
Hold that thought. But, everyone asked, how did you meet your husband? And I said it was online dating, and I closed him by the 3rd date. So I use the same process with my husband in recruiting as I do with my sales team and my recruits.
Well, I'm a big promoter. I know there's a lot of push and pull about whether your team is your family, so to speak, but I definitely find that some of the same kind of boundary setting and screening and et cetera definitely applies to people I choose to be close to me and work together in my personal life just as much as in my business life. So
very true. Very true. You can duplicate it in all areas of your life for sure, because when you think about it, you don't want to recruit down. I always am trying to recruit up. If that person challenges me in some way, in a good way, I know I've found a winner for sure, because I want to be able to be challenged, because you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with, the most. So that's key too, to never settle and not just take anybody that has a pulse and can fog a mirror, right?
Indeed. People who inspire and empower you is what I always say. If you're going to be the sum of the closest people to you, pick people who inspire and empower you all the time, not just like once.
100%.
Okay, so next question, and this is something I'm very curious about, because you have a lot of frameworks and processes, which is something that we deeply, deeply relate to and love at Anansi. But also, you carry a lot of this. You have carried a lot of this to the different positions you've been in, the different sales you've done. So I am curious, how much of developing an effective sales process is, a salesperson's role, or can someone reasonably typically expect to have a hire bring with them? And how much is basically your responsibility as a business leader to define, teach, train, etc.?
That's a phenomenal question. My personal thought on this, and I think it somewhat depends a little bit on the company and the person. My belief as a sales leader and trainer is it's my responsibility at least 70 to 80. You could almost say the 80-20 rule. Like, I have got to have systems and training and support in place in order to even give you an opportunity. Like, if I'm expecting you to develop it, shame on me. I don't think that makes any sense personally. Because just, my own journey and the sales mentors that I've hired and the companies I've recruited for, they all had systems in place, and I'm no different. So I really think 70 to 80% is on the company or the person that's hiring, so that salesperson has a track to run on. They have a framework, and I'm sure you've heard I'm all about acronyms, but SYSTEM stands for save yourself stress, time, energy, and money. So I don't want to waste a salesperson's life or livelihood or time if I don't have a system and framework and tools already in place. And then though, at the same time, I don't want it to be 100% where I'm Attila the Hun and I'm like saying, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. I love solution-oriented salespeople. I love when they come to me with ideas that are innovative and, kind of like a traditions plus innovation, and allowing them to, be free and see what does work for them, increase, their revenue, which increases. I think that's phenomenal. You got to give them some free reign and creativity that makes their heart sing.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is have a system and processes and frameworks and et cetera, but don't be so rigid in them that somebody who comes in who's excellent can't improve or shift or customize them to their own needs or experience.
100%. Yeah, if you find those people, that's gold for sure. 100%.
Okay, awesome. And when you are training someone in sales, there is a lot to cover. I know because we actually sent out an offer today for our new account manager salesperson, and I have been working on our sales play, which it already existed. We already had the processes, but I've been working on the sales playbook, inspired quite a bit from the conversations we've had and the stuff you've put out. And it is a lot of work. There's a lot of things to cover and a lot of things to consider. So I'm curious, what are kind of the MVP elements to you, like the minimum viable product? Like, where do you typically start, and what are the most important high level topics to cover with, assuming the person coming in, you've done your due diligence and they have sales experience and et cetera, and they are, competent.
Yep. And obviously that's going to change a little bit dependent upon their competency. However, I believe clean slate, because I don't want to assume just because someone, excelled at a high level or their resume is this or that. I'd like to be on the same page and give everyone a clean start and come in. And I actually, I don't know if I told you this, I taught a college course to MBA level students for several years. And it was converted to an online course, which was awesome. And I have 33 hours of content. And everything, and it's something that I do sell and I package to people. If they're on my sales team, they get it for free. I obviously on the honor system, they're not allowed to share it with anyone, but it ranges from everything from goal setting, mission, vision, values, also the time management and the systems I have in place and the tools that I have. It's almost like an at-home study course, so they can do it on their own time. But my goal is to kind of, especially if they're on a probationary period, or if, they really want to succeed at a faster level, that's, I don't want to say a condition, but it's an expectation that in a perfect world, just like my college students and MBA students, they all had full-time jobs, families, and they still went through this course, these 33 hours in a 7-week period. I give my sales team 8 weeks, and it's intensive, so that's about 3 to 4 hours a week of homework, home study modules, audios, and then actual old school homework PDFs that they fill out. And it's meant to transform their minds and get them ready to really be in the trenches. It's personal development, but it covers communication skills, it covers the form technique, it covers all of the stuff that I've learned over, well, the last 20 years. And I do additional stuff. I do a Monday morning mindset call to get them going, talking about what books are you reading, et cetera, to start the week. And then once they get through that 8-week period, that really tells me if they're going to stay for long term, and if they're coachable, and if they're learners, and if they're willing to go through the modules and get it done. And I actually have the ability to read all of their homework. I don't go over it and grade it like I did with the college students, but it's actually empowers them to start off all on the same page, and nobody can really move forward without going through all of that. But as long as they can get it done in those first 60 days, that's the ideal scenario for me. So I don't know if that's a lot. I didn't go over every single topic, but it's really from soup to nuts, everything that I believe they need to succeed.
Okay. And it would be really great if we could include a link to that for people who are interested in either going through that themselves or, providing it to somebody that they're trying to hire and train in sales. I'm curious though, 33 hours, that's a lot of stuff. Like, is there maybe 3 to 5 elements of it that basically what I'm looking for is maybe not all the details, but, maybe what the modules you think are most important, like what are they called? What aspects of sales do you think really kind of, if we're talking about the 80-20 rule, what are the 20%, that really drive? Like if someone wanted to start somewhere, but maybe not go through the whole process, what are some topics that would be the most valuable for them to learn? Yep.
I'm just writing down here. Really, the first one is mindset, getting their mindset in a sales and service versus selling mentality, and understanding how to come in with that framework is super important to me, and know that they understand that and they get that. The next one, of course, is time management, which you understand the 12-week year certification that I have.
Yes. I wanted to tell you how you inspired me in that, but we'll save that for after. Keep going.
So ultimately, making sure that we're all speaking the same language, that's important for a sales team in a perfect world at all times, is just making sure that the time management and the structure of their day, their hours, their week, and even their quarterly goals are important. A communication section on communication, understanding people, different types of people, and then of course the scripts that can maybe go with that. That's where I also go over the form technique as well. And I'm trying to think of just limiting it to the 2 other things out of the 7. I also do talk to them about work-life balance and just lifestyle, and just my passion for that because of my experience with depression, anxiety, and my years and years in the health and fitness industry and selling nutritional products and working with a couple companies who are specific to that. And then also a finance section, also being able to help them understand, the money that they're making and how to proportion it accordingly. Things of that nature are important to me as well. And I think if any sales manager or company is really, truly responsible, it's important. I mean, a 401k is nice, and I respect all of those institution or possibilities for employees. But if you can teach them how to manage their money and even have conversations about investing or multiple streams of income, to me, for salespeople, that's very applicable.
That makes a lot of sense. That's actually something internally at Anansi we've discussed even just for our team, because our team does consist of, all of our strategists do take other projects on the side and come from a freelancer background. Anyway, that's just, I think it was earlier in this call, although time mooshes together in my brain, that I was saying, it was last interview I did, that I felt very, very inspired by just some simple financial concepts around helping manage your money, and have found that was some of the best gift I have received and have been able to teach to my family and to my team, and even sometimes do community workshops. And it has a benefit on the business side as much as the personal side. It's just super empowering. So it's cool that you include that, and also important for sales, because I do find that something I've learned through the process of recruiting and training and et cetera is that the sales role is a little bit interesting because you are an employee, but it is similar to being, a freelancer in some ways because you're so self-driven in terms of metrics. But you do have a company providing accountability and processes and all this kind of stuff.
That's a good point. I should clarify. I'm used to, when I recruit, it's 100% commission sales. I haven't done employees for, since back before the recession, the Great Recession, and when I had a real estate sales team and a mortgage sales team. That was the last time I did any kind of employee status, but it depends. I think that either way, no matter what, when someone is a salesperson, and depending on the situation, not everyone's salaried. Most salespeople, their income can go up and down, and that's stressful, right? So how to have more money at the end of the month instead of more month at the end of money, and how to save and how to invest. And, those things are important because here's the deal. If the salesperson isn't making money, guess what? They're going to quit and leave you. And now you have to go hire someone else. And not that is always a bad thing because maybe it wasn't a good fit, but it's important to have quality people and to pour into your talent for retention because that's important.
This is very interesting. And of course, always right at the end, there's something super valuable I want to dig into and just do a whole other hour and talk about. Because I have heard a lot of discussion behind the scenes around the push and pull between commission for salespeople versus having a base salary. And interestingly enough, my mentor and business coach kind of pushed us in the direction of a base salary, saying that, they're mentioning there being a whole bunch of issues with commission only. So I'd love to talk more about that. But also we are running out of time. And as always, leave people wanting more. Well, once again, you've left me wanting more, and I'm sure you've left our listeners wanting more as well. Definitely lots to cover here. Every time I talk to you, I feel like gold is just falling out of your mouth, as well as it just being fun, which is important as well. And that real human connection you talk about is something I greatly value. So I will, wrap it up here for our listeners. If you want more, if you want to know the answer to commission versus base salary, I would suggest tuning into one of Lois's webinars, maybe asking some questions, maybe tuning in and letting us know via email or social media that you guys want her back.
That would be awesome. Third time's a charm. I don't know if you can handle me one more time, but I would be happy to be back.
Excellent. Well, yes, I'm just so excited about the connection we made. I definitely would like to interview you again. With the rate things are changing, we're going to talk in another 4 weeks and we'll be living in a different world all over again. But regardless, you're someone I deeply respect. You adapt well, you take lots of action, and you act from a compassionate place. So thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with our listeners, sharing that experience, being vulnerable. All of this, is the epitome of what matters to me, matters to our team, and really matters to our audience, which realistically is a very, very important part of the mix, which is just real talk and learning to be a real person and a human and navigate the overwhelming amounts of decisions that come to us as business leaders. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
And to all of our listeners, as usual, I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. I hope you're keeping your chin up during these times. Don't hesitate to reach out if you are not. We will talk to you. We'd love to talk to you, hear your story, hear what's going on. As I've been saying lately, hopefully you're not just having a great day, but you can create some space in your day for happiness, which I think is equally important. All right. Take care, guys.